Romika Laser Engraving and Custom Designs. I'm Ron Phillips, co-owner of Romika Designs. We offer custom laser engraving services for a variety of products, including promotional items and corporate or personal gifts. With state-of-the-art equipment and a team of skilled designers, we can engrave intricate designs on virtually any material. Whether it's a special message, a company logo, or a custom design, Romika Laser Engraving will help you make your mark. And the best part, our prices are affordable and our turnaround time is quick.
I couldn't be happier with the work Romika Laser Engraving did for me. The engraving on my product was precise and exactly what I wanted.
So don't wait any longer to add a personal touch to your products. Call Romika Laser Engraving and Custom Designs today at 817-400-4040 or visit our website at romikadesigns.com. We look forward to helping you make your mark.
Hey travelers, do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call, because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at ridiculously low prices. Our prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find ridiculously low prices for you. Call SmartFares today and get the best price on your next flight. Guaranteed. Also, save up to 50% off business and first class tickets.
855-325-1820. 855-325-1820. That's 855-325-1820.
Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395.
Have you ever met a single person in your life that enjoys paying taxes? No, no one does. If you can't sleep at night because you have a huge problem with the IRS, I've got some free advice for you. This service is strictly limited to individuals that owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes. And if you qualify, we can guarantee that you won't be writing a big fat check to the IRS, or our services cost you nothing. The first 100 people that call today will get a free tax consultation worth $500. Stop worrying about your IRS problem. We can help you, we promise. Call the tax doctor right now. I mean right now, to learn more.
800-240-4587. 800-240-4587. 800-240-4587. That's 800-240-4587.
Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395.
The voice of Johnson County, JoCo Community Radio.
All right, Johnson County, this is the JoCo Voice, and I'm your host, Mike Wilshire. We are at February 7th at 6:04 p.m., coming to you live from Burleson, Texas. I've got in the studio with me Colonel Vince Crabb, who is running for the U.S. Congress District 25, and you're in the primaries now, right? We're in the beginning of the runoff. Good. How you doing this day, Colonel?
I'm doing fine, and thank you so much for having me. And you're right, I am in the primary March the 5th.
March the 5th.
So that's right around the corner, my friend. You know, I sit here speaking to my friend here, and so all the folks out there know he's a veteran as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So we're sitting here exchanging, and I said, man, it makes me feel good to sit across the table for another vet. You know, we sitting here and smoke and joke a little bit. And
the funny thing is that we've had this conversation. We ain't talked about politics once.
No, we haven't.
We've been sitting in here telling war stories
right.
and telling horror stories and telling the fun, the good, the bad, the ugly.
Yeah.
You know, and anyone who ever wants to hear a veteran tell a story, don't ask the veteran. Just go find another veteran and sit the two of them next to each other,
Right.
and get your pen and paper ready. You're gonna hear some of the funniest stuff you'll ever hear.
Acronyms and all the above.
Right. And we had this conversation off camera, but I have to tell everybody, the acronyms that come out of us that just pop up, and we don't have to explain anything to each other, so the story goes by even quicker.
Right.
Whereas you're sitting there with a civilian beside you, and they're like, "What's the DFAC? What's the talk?
Right.
Who's the cow? Why is this guy? You know, what did you call him? A RIMF?" And I was like, "Well, we're not going to tell you what that is on the air." But
Right.
we get some funny ones every now and then. I mean, it's been it's been a blessing to have been in the military.
Oh, 110%. I tell you, I think being in the military, I'll just tell you, has prepared me to do what I'm applying to do,
Right.
which is run for Congress.
Right.
I mean, I told you, I went through boot camp in 1978.
Right.
I was an enlisted guy. I made E5. I went to OCS, became an officer. Went all the way to 06, colonel, full bird colonel. So with all of that experience and background, I think it's prepared me for what I'm applying for here today.
Right.
Quite frankly.
Right. And this and what people don't seem to understand. So I want to put a little bit of clarity for someone who wouldn't understand the things that we're talking about. You enlisted at the lowest rank of E1 PV. I think back then it was called a PV, just a
buck private, yeah.
And nothing on your shoulder,
not a strap one.
And I then climbed up to E5, which is
Right.
an NCO. For anyone who doesn't know, a non-commissioned officer, which is actually you're pretty much in charge of at least a squad,
Exactly,
if not a little bit more. Some more experienced E5s might get a few more guys than usual, but and from there you transition over to OCS, which is you had to go back to basic training.
Absolutely.
Even though it's OCS school, it's a little more knife and fork, but they also, I mean, you're writing reports, you've got to be able to read, decipher all the things that go with being in OCS. And then you have to go back to the butter bar, which is just like being a PV, nothing, just a buck private.
Right.
And you're a butter bar lieutenant. Everyone's treating you like it was your first day after preschool.
Even the sergeants, I tell you,
they had no idea you had been a Mustang and that you had come up through the ranks. And for anyone who doesn't know, a Mustang is it the same for the Army?
Same.
Okay, for the Navy, a Mustang is somebody who's enlisted that becomes an officer later, and it gives you a little bit more clout, because if we see a butter bar coming at us, an ensign in the Navy, someone will go, "Hey, go easy, he's a Mustang." And you're like, "Okay, cool, that's cool, we can work with that."
Right.
And the head might be a little bit bigger because he did just make officer, and everyone's got salute.
Right.
But after about the 5th day of getting saluted every 2 seconds, his head's going to deflate, and he's going to be like, "If y'all keep walking by me, I'm going to kill somebody. I am so tired of this. My arm hurts." Right?
And they're doing it on purpose. Don't make no mistake.
By your leave, sir. By your leave.
Yeah,
just running right by him, trying everything we can just to drive the guy up the wall. So did all that. You've been a fireman.
I was a fireman in the city of Arlington.
Mm-hmm.
I was a Texas peace officer, as a matter of fact.
Mm-hmm. Still
today, I'm still carrying a Texas peace officer license.
Okay.
I just do not have an agency,
That's
like a police department or a sheriff's department that's carrying my commission.
Well, I hear that Johnson County is hiring. Run down there to the sheriff and tell him, "Hey, give me a badge. I'll go out to there. We'll go out on patrol tonight." Right? No. So you've done. You're like me, jack of all trades, master of none.
Roger.
But except you're a master at being an Army officer.
Right.
Was on the list for brigadier. Right?
That's correct.
And took it away because you'd already done the job.
I'd done it. My last job, I was a director. I was a director of the Joint Information Operation Warfare Center in San Antonio, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
I was a deputy. And then when my boss left, the 2-star, as a deputy, that's a position of a 1-star general. So I was doing a 1-star position.
Mm-hmm.
So when he left,
Doing the 2-star.
I moved up to a 2-star, but I kept my rank as a colonel.
Right.
So I had all the authorities and protocols, and to the joint staff and to the meetings with the stars and the secretaries and meeting secretaries of the Army and that kind of thing, Secretary of Defense. So basically, I've already done the job. Well, I think I was telling you a story that I had a general who's kind of like a mentor for me. And
Sure.
he was asking me, he goes, well, you don't want it. I said, no, sir, I don't. I said, I've always thought, you look at sergeant majors. Now think about this for the folks don't understand. A sergeant major, they're at the top of the list in Army enlisted ranks.
Right.
Okay, now you look in the center of a sergeant major and you're going to see a star.
Yep.
So they always tell you there's 2 people that get a star.
Right.
That's a general and a sergeant major.
That's it.
So every time I seen a sergeant major when I was in boot camp, I was thinking, oh my gosh, this guy's almost like God. Look at this.
Right.
All
He's
right,
the
so-
oldest man I've ever seen.
yeah.
Right.
And when they speak,
Yeah.
you listen. Trust me, you listen.
Yeah.
Then you see the colonel. He has that same swagger, comes walking through. You look at that bird up there, that
Right.
eagle, like
Right.
he got that look.
Yeah.
Morning, how you doing, soldier?
Yeah.
He's been there and done it.
Yeah. If you
So-
looked down, he'd have seen my knees shaking.
Exactly.
Whenever I
Oh,
was,
yeah.
when
Trust
I was
me.
young and enlisted and
Yeah.
just got in, they were gods to me. I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I didn't know what to do. I was so scared.
So I thought, why not?
Right.
That's what I want to be the rest of my life. I want to be known as the colonel.
Right.
So
It's
the
good.
general, he's like, so what are you going to do, Colonel Crabb?
Mhm.
You just want to retire? I said, yes, sir, I do. I said, I just want to go home. I'm tired. I've done my thing. I'm going to go home and retire and be a normal guy.
Right.
He goes, you're going to go home and be a normal guy. I said, so let me ask you a question. People love saying the word colonel. You've been the sheriff of Baghdad. So all your listeners out there, if you Google Major Crabb, the sheriff of Baghdad, there's a small documentary of me out there. Okay, so the general's like, so you're sheriff of Baghdad, Colonel Crabb, but you're going to be normal, right? I said, yes, sir. So my plan was, I'm not going to tell nobody who I was or what I was. I'm going to introduce myself. How you doing? I'm Vince Crabb.
Mm-hmm.
So one morning over there in my yard, I'm out in the front yard messing around.
Mm-hmm.
2 people walk by. Morning, Colonel. And they keep walking. So at first, it's kind of used to it. Like, morning.
Mhm.
Then it dawned on me. Hey, come here to me. What'd you just call me? Colonel. So how did you know I was a colonel? People down the road said they were talking to the home builders and they told him that a colonel was an army colonel's moving in here. So after that,
You couldn't.
no, the
escape.
whole community. Morning, Colonel. Morning, Colonel. So I called the general. I said, sir, you're right.
Yep.
It spread like wildfire. He just
You'll always
laughed.
be the colonel.
Always be. But I'm proud of it. It's not that I was trying to run from it. I'm
No.
not. I'm proud of it.
Sure.
But to me, it almost sounds arrogant.
Right.
Hey, you call me sir. You call me colonel. I don't. I don't want to do that.
Right.
I'm a normal guy like everybody else.
Right.
I just got a little bit different past than some.
I understand.
But I am a normal guy.
It is hard to get away from.
Sure.
It is. I'm the world's worst. I remember we were watching. I was with someone and we were watching that The Last Castle or whatever it is with Robert
Right.
Redford.
Right.
And he steps off of the van and he's in his uniform and his handcuffs. And the person with me is like, you made this noise. And I said, what? And you said, and they were, why'd you make that noise? I said, oh, he wouldn't have been a general if they were put him in trial. He has to reduce in rank for them to, and there's steps that have to go. I said, but it just takes too long to explain it in a movie and they wouldn't have done that.
Right.
I said, but once you're a general, that's an appointment rank.
Right.
And I was like, and so anything court martial wise, you'd have to be dropped down.
Roger.
And we were talking about stuff like that, and they're like, only you would know that. And I was like, no, only a military guy would know that, that's seen it happen. It is very rare, but it does take place every now and then. The bird never goes away.
Right.
Once they're the bird, it can go away if they do, but it's a lot of steps to do it. It's
Right.
congressional, it's things like that. But the general rank is something else. And I was
Roger.
like,
Roger.
So, the colonel will always be there. You're always
Mhm.
going to be. And I remember guys who took positions as full birds and became wing commanders of Army units, the air wings,
Right.
and didn't like it.
Mhm.
Resigned their commission, became warrant officers, went back to flying. When they retired, they were back to being a colonel.
Mhm.
You retire out at the highest rank,
That's
you
right.
earned it. And so it was so funny. They retired, and it was like, Chief Warrant Officer Snow has retired, and they pipe him over and he's done. Colonel Snow has now entered into the room,
That's
and
right. That's right.
it was pretty funny to see the stuff that that went on. So you decided to throw your hat in the ring.
Yeah, I retired in 2013. I'll tell you, I've got a good retirement. Retired colonel, retired firefighter. I got some pretty decent money. Told my wife, I says, so thinking, let's go home. I'm retired. I'll just retire. Are you sure you're tired of running around the country and around the world and saving this or saving that or doing what you do? I said, yeah, I think I am, baby. Let's go home. So she said, okay.
Right.
All right. So 2013. So like every old guy, I watch the news. I drink coffee. I got this little Shih Tzu that sits on my lap. It don't get no better than that, right? That's a good retirement. I got my land, got my cows, got my kids, my grandkids. Life's good.
For about 10 years, huh?
About 10 years, it wasn't too bad. Then this started happening. This meaning, look at the scenario that we're in our nation,
right?
State of Texas,
right,
and the world. Let's just call it like it is. What a mess! What an absolute mess!
Right.
So I told her, I said, I feel guilty sometimes. She goes, well, about what? She goes, you've served, you've did this. You're a cop, you're a fireman, you're a soldier. You've been around the world, 5 combat tours. You've been wounded. You've done your part. I said, but babe, I've got all this knowledge up here. I've been to the Pentagon 3 times, 3 different tours at the Pentagon. I know how the DC, what they call the Beltway, works. I've worked with Senate. I've worked with Congress. I know how this happens. I can't run out and jump through the jungles no more, or the deserts, or out of planes, all that stuff.
But you still got something left inside you.
But I still got a little fire left in me. I told her, I said, I'm 64 years old. I'm not dead yet, but I can do this. That's my guilty. I feel like I feel a little guilty about this. She goes, well, what did you tell your soldiers for years? I said, I don't know, baby. I don't know. I said, I've told my soldiers a lot of stuff. What are you talking about? You said, if you don't like what's going on, won't you try to do something about it? Stop griping.
Right. Don't come to me with a problem. Come to me with a solution to the problem.
There you go. You've heard it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've had officers. I've walked up, and now the problem with me is I've had people who tell me what happened. So I tell them what happened. And they go, that's not an excuse. I said, no. You said tell you what happened. I didn't tell you the excuse. The excuse is a failure in your training of training me on what I needed to do. That's the excuse. I'm telling you the events that took place. These are how you're going to fix this, and you need to tell me what I do to fix it going forward. So, it's a different mindset whenever you're talking to a military person, which is, and no disrespect to you, I think that might be the one thing that's going to be your downfall, is because you are a doer and you get things done, and you're about to walk into a room full of people who I've seen howler monkeys in a cage that look more in control than sometimes what I've seen in Congress and in the Senate, and in some situations abroad. And I mean, if you think of like the British House of Parliament, they have that little valley, and it looks like a soccer game going on without a team in the middle of it. You know what I mean? So at times, it's not ironic that the Senate and the House are cathedrals, because there's a clown up there performing at times. And
well, we don't have a clown. We have clowns. I'm going to tell you what, I'm not going up to be their friend.
I understand. Good.
I'm not going to wait for them to pick a fight with me. I'm going to go pick the fight.
Sure.
Don't be confused. I'm not going up there to color inside the line. Get out your coloring book.
Right.
Get out your Crayola and stay inside the line. I don't want to color inside the line, because coloring inside the line is not working.
Right.
So let's color outside the line for a little while.
It hadn't been working for a while, and and it's, the definition of insanity, repeating the same thing over and over again
Yeah.
and expecting a different answer. I appreciate that you're going to jump into the arena and do it, but my goodness gracious, it's going to be herding cats at times, right?
I love chaos. I'm going to tell you, I love chaos. I want humdrum. I want chaos.
Right.
Because that's where you feel like you're alive. I'm good at it, and I know I'm good at it. So I want to go.
Absolutely. And how's your wife feel about it? She ready for you to?
Well, I've got a good wife. She been 47 years with the lady, and I'm gonna tell you, she's been a heck of a soldier. And I tell people all the time, she raised my 2 sons. I did not. I was too
Right.
busy running around
Being a colonel.
doing the
Doing the
colonel
job.
thing, being in foreign lands and doing this. And
Mhm.
so I got 2 good boys, and smart as a whip.
Mhm.
One's a vice president of a company. The other one's he was a Dallas fireman. He got accepted to the Commercial Airline Academy. He's doing that. So extremely, extremely smart boys, good boys. But here's the deal. I'll never get the Father of the Year award.
Right.
But my wife, she will get the Mother of the Year award every year.
Right.
She's a tough lady. But I tell people, you know what, if I was her, I'd have shot me a long time ago. All the crud
There's
and
no
all the
hope.
stuff. But you know what? That's why I say she's a soldier. She stuck with me, and she's still sticking with me. So to answer your question, she goes, well, that's what you feel like you need to do. Go do it and come home and let's retire again as soon as you get through.
Absolutely.
That's how it is.
Absolutely. People are texting me questions to ask and stuff. So,
Okay.
So your feelings on border security, how do you feel we're doing? Is it subpar, par, above par? What?
Well, I'd like to thank everybody out there that's listening, everybody that's not listening. You got to know that we've got a mess on this border.
Right.
Can it be fixed? 100%, because it's already been done.
Right.
Well, Colonel Crabb, how was that done? A good question, sir. When President Trump was in there, he told Mexico, close your southern borders, put military on your northern border, which is where the U.S. is at.
Right.
Just because you open your southern border and let people use your country as a bridge to get to our border or to our nation, the U.S. of A., when they're using your country as a bridge, that's not our problem. That's your problem. You're the one that let them into your country.
Right.
But when we cut off their humanitarian money that we give them yearly, they will call back and go, hey, we're on board.
Right.
But here's what the problem is today. These people, and I say these people, I mean, our country is based on immigrants.
Right.
So let's call it like it is. But do it legally.
Sure.
But when you got a president and a vice president that stands up there on national television and says, no more America first, our borders are open, come to America. This is where I give the folks that came up, they were told to come up.
Right.
They didn't just wake up one day and go, hey, we're going to America.
Right.
They were told to come up. So they go, hey, the border's open. Let's go to America. Now we've had herds of people. We have 8 to 10 million people.
Right.
In our nation today that we have no clue where they're at. Now, if you're a good person, you have a family and you want to work and you truly want to be part of America and have a good life, I 110% welcome you.
Right.
We will streamline the process, in my opinion.
Mhm.
We streamline it so when they get here, we help them get their green card. We help them do their paperwork.
Right.
They don't have to go on some website and try to figure it out.
Right. If
I'm pretty good with computers, and half the time I can't figure it out.
Right.
And then when you call the help desk, they're so rude to you, for God's sakes. You don't want to call them back.
Right.
Well, so these folks, they disappear in the United States of America. Go, you know what? I'm just going to go to work and be a good person. So they go all these years without a green card. That's unacceptable. That's unacceptable. Okay, so do we have terrorists coming over? 110% we do. 110% we do. We got other countries emptying their penitentiaries as we speak.
Sure.
They're sending them up here to us. I don't like bad behavior.
Right.
That's bad behavior.
Right.
And there are consequences.
And if they streamline the process, it would make it easier to identify who's a machinist, who's a carpenter, who's a roofer,
Right.
who's somebody who's actually going to contribute to society.
Absolutely.
And I say those jobs and stuff to people,
Yeah.
and everyone goes, "Oh, that's so bad. That's all you think they bring to the table." I'm like, "Do you know how important a roofer is? Let your roof get a hole in it after one of the hailstorms that comes through here,
Yeah.
and you will realize you will sell your soul to get a roofer over to your house before the rain comes, which is in 24 hours."
Right.
You know,
Right.
and you're going to get somebody who's brave enough to get on a ladder and go up there with a tarp and a roll of duct tape, and he's going to try to hold you over just until the roofer can get there, because they're few and far
Oh
between
my gosh.
the ones that we compare to what we used to have,
Yeah.
and the legitimate ones that actually do
Yeah.
good work. I don't do anything that wasn't referred to me by somebody else.
Right,
They
right.
tell me the good
Yeah.
and tell me the bad.
Right.
I don't do anything that wasn't referred by somebody else. So I want to identify who's a mechanic whenever they're coming into this country,
Absolutely.
who's a diesel mechanic,
Yeah.
because I've got that Ford F-350 2008
Yeah.
that I had to do the valve covers on the driver's side, and I got that thing apart, got it all out, got the valve covers back on with the gaskets replaced,
Right.
and guess who I had to call? A mechanic to come help me put it back together.
Absolutely.
And even then, we still ended up with two 10-millimeter nuts that we have one 10-millimeter nut. We have no idea what it goes to.
You'll find out where it goes eventually.
Yeah, if something starts leaking, I'm going to find out. I think it was one of those retainers that just holds a bracket that has
Right.
like one of those little plastic connections, electronic
Right.
connections.
Right.
I know it wasn't a seal, because I would have noticed the drip afterwards, but
That's
that
funny.
side's taken care of. I got to do the passenger side next,
Right.
and I'm probably going to tear it apart and then call him again to come back over and fix it when it's over and done with. Those are things that our kids aren't learning today, which brings me into my next question. We got 3 minutes. We can solve the world's problems in 3 minutes, right?
Absolutely.
Colonel? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So now, which brings me to accountability for parents for the way the children are acting today. We have a serious situation, and I don't think that's a federal. That's going to be federal. That's going to be local and state on how this is going down. But you got tax dollars going for these kids to go to school and tell the teacher to F off and pretty much just disobey and be absolutely horrible. Now, we had something in school whenever we did that when I was young. And when you were young, it was straight discipline from the school.
Mhm.
When I was young, it became, if your parents aren't going to make you act right, we're going to make your parents pay a fine for you disrupting school classes.
Mhm.
And so you got a ticket, and then your mama had to go in front of the judge
Mhm.
and be embarrassed by a judge.
Mhm.
And I found out recently they don't write tickets for kids anymore. They only enforce felony or greater for disrupting school classes.
Right.
And I, for the love of God, I'll never understand
Mhm.
why it is in this country parents aren't held accountable for their kids' actions. We've been held accountable for our kids' actions since Cain slew Abel.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now we've got this situation where it's like, well, that's the school's problem on the kids at the school. No, it's not.
No,
It's
it's
my
not.
problem.
It's called parenting.
I bet you your wife snapped too if your boys ever got in trouble on one. She had to go up to school. It probably was once. And then the other one learned from whatever the other one did.
Oh yeah. We
Discipline was something.
my wife, she's kind of a small lady,
Uh-huh.
but yeah,
I wouldn't be fooled.
I'm 6'1",
Yeah.
about 235, and my youngest son says it's funny watching my wife. Says, Mom looks up at you, hand on her hip, she just ta 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 ta. Said you're standing there looking at her. I said, Dad, she's the only one that I know that can talk to you that way.
You darn right.
And not go upside somebody's head. Said
47 years, you ain't making no changes.
I can't. I know.
Uh-uh.
I know who the boss is. I know who the command post general is. 'Cause
Right.
You know why I know it? Because she reminds me.
She's
She's the general. I'm the colonel.
yeah, that's right.
So she's a tough lady, like I told you. and the kids act up, she don't go, I'm going to tell your daddy. She don't do that.
Oh, no, it's handled.
Oh, no. Well, trust me.
It's handled right then and there.
She snatches a hold of them pretty quickly.
Right. I know that I know that whenever I was young, there were things, and we'll probably talk about it after the commercial, but I know there were things that happened whenever I was young that I look back on it. And not only did the person involved learn a lesson, we all learned a lesson that day. And you just didn't make that same mistake. It's the guy who you walk by him at boot camp and you see what he's doing push-ups and somebody says, what do you think he did? And the other guy goes, I don't want to know. Exactly. I don't want to find out. I'm not going to do it. I know I'm not going to do whatever he did. I might make a mistake, but it won't be something that I got dropped out in the middle of the quad in front of everybody for. All right, we're going to take a commercial break, and we'll be back with Colonel Vince Crabb in just a moment. Stick around, Johnson County.
Why have thousands of aspiring authors teamed up with Christian Faith Publishing to publish their book? Because Christian Faith Publishing is an author-friendly publisher who understands that your labor is more than just a book. We provide authors freedom and flexibility throughout the publishing process, professional book editing, award-winning design, and some of the highest royalty structures in the publishing industry. And as always, you will retain 100% of the rights to your book.
I was looking to find a company that I could trust, one that assisted in the editing process completely.
The most important qualities that I was looking for was a publisher who was honest and upfront, no hidden costs or fees, and owning the rights to my own work.
Christian Faith Publishing will publish, market, and sell your books in all major bookstores, online booksellers, as well as specialty Christian bookstores. Call for your free author submission kit.
800-978-4812. 800-978-4812. 800-978-4812. That's 800-978-4812.
Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395.
You're listening to JoCo Community Radio.
And we're back, Johnson County. Let me go through this commercial real quick, and then we'll get back to the Colonel. JoCo Community Radio is proud to be the voice of Johnson County, Texas, and is live 24/7 on the TuneIn Radio Network. TuneInJoCo.com is the place to find all the ways to listen and watch, and the station app is also available for free on Android, Apple devices, and it's simple to search your store. Check out our lineup and more at JoCoCommunityRadio.com. This episode and more brought to you by Next Level Claims, making your insurance work for you. Reach out to your Texas sales rep at 844-TEX-HAIL. That's 844-839-4245. Be sure to dress your arms and more at thetiffy.com. You want a scarf or something, Colonel? She sells, bracelets, scarves.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get me a.
I think it'd look great on that Wrangler shirt.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm what people don't understand. I look like I know with my white flat top and all that. I probably look like a walking warrior, but they don't understand how sensitive I am.
I am very sensitive. I cry all the time. I watched The Dirty Dozen the other day.
Oh yeah.
And when John Cassavetes died, I cried like a baby.
Oh yeah. I had to watch a Barbie movie a couple of times the other day.
I bet you cried. I know that I went with a girl many, many years ago on a date to see some romantic comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember what the romantic comedy was, but all I was thinking is I better get some kissy face after this date because this is the longest hour and 45 minutes I have ever spent watching anything in my life. And I don't even remember the premise of the movie. I mean, I know that there were pretty people in it, but it was just absolutely horrible.
There had to be a reward at the end of this.
Right. You know, I mean, like the Notebook, the only part of the Notebook that I liked was the war scenes and the uniforms. I mean, everything else was just absolute torture to get through the whole movie. And God help you if you're dating a girl, then that's her favorite movie. She's, you know, she's like, I'll watch a movie with you. It's got military stuff in it.
Right.
Yeah, don't fall for it, boys. The Notebook is about 4 minutes of military stuff. And then the rest of it is
Let me tell you a
a
funny
love
story.
story.
Tell you a funny story. You know, on active duty, you know, I was coming around to, I don't know what number we was on our anniversary, but the ladies there and because that's when I was a director. So I had 2 secretaries. I had a lieutenant colonel. I had a couple of more soldiers, and all their job was to take care of me.
Mm-hmm.
And keep me at one meeting to the next. Well, so our anniversary was coming up. So the ladies, you know, they all want to be, oh, hey, Colonel, what you going to get for your wife? You know, da, 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 da. I said, well, let me tell you why I love my wife. They're thinking, oh, you know, you're going to get her some jewelry. You're going to get her some of that really nice perfume. You know what my wife wanted? She wanted a battery operated DeWalt drill. That's what she really wanted for the anniversary. And I was telling the ladies in the office, like, oh, no, you can't get her that. I said, that's what she asked for.
Right.
But that is the truth. That is the truth.
Hey, if she wants it, she's going to get it.
That's why we get along.
Right. If it's a DeWalt drill, I will say she's got good taste in drills.
Roger that.
She has great taste in tools.
Roger that.
When it's over and done with. That's awesome. So, and you have cows. Do you have animals? You have acreage?
Yeah, down there in 32 acres down in Covington. Got some land down there, and got a few head of cows. And you know, for me, you and I spoke about this offline, that us as soldiers, that's our goal. That's our getaway. We've been around the world and
Greatest
done our
medicine.
thing, but we go out there and we're with nature. We're on our land, and
you
know, even if we're building or tearing down a fence or cutting hay, when it's 100 degrees,
right,
we're doing what we want to do.
If I can get out there and do something, and there's a real old song from I say real old. It's from Revenge of the Nerds, of all the movies in the world. But the song is about putting one foot in front of the other.
Absolutely.
And I tell people, if you're going to go into special forces, if you're going to go into being a director of movies, you're going to be a musician, you want to be someone who performs for people, you start thinking about everything you got to do in totality as a whole, you'll wash out.
Yeah.
You won't ever do it.
No.
When you went in and enlisted in 1978, 1979, you did not think you were going to be a colonel.
No.
You went in to the Army to see if you wanted to be able to do 4-year contract in the Army.
Right.
I tell people all the time, whenever you look at your land and you think of the totality of what you have to do, you're going to be overwhelmed. But if you, when I got my land, there was a lean-to on it that was empty, and it had sand all around because it's limestone county. It's just sand everywhere, and there were trees growing up through it, bushes all around it. And it was put one foot in front of the other and go over there and get a chainsaw and start clearing out brush.
You make it day by day, step by step,
and just one thing after another. And 30 minutes worth of work today and 30 minutes worth of work tomorrow is about 2.5 hours worth of work down the line.
Sure.
Because you took out something that's just going to be in the way.
Right.
And you're always going to be dealing with something.
Yep.
And I learned from my dad that every day in this world I work, whether I'm being paid for to do that work or whether it's my work that I'm doing for myself, you always got something you got to do.
Sure.
And that was that's the best thing you can give a veteran, is something to do.
Yeah.
Because idle hands are the devil's work. And I bet you sat on that couch for about 3 days with that Shih Tzu before you finally went, you know what, I need to go tinker with something for just a minute. Right.
We gotta go do something. We gotta go do something,
Yeah.
you know. So we get up and go do our thing and hang out. She's a pretty good battle buddy, my little Her name is Button. She's a funny little dude, but she hangs with me, I swear.
I have a Yorkshire Terrier named Marie Laveau. She lives up to her name. She's a little voodoo woman that runs around in my house. You walk in, she barks. You walk out, she barks. You go out to get mail and come back in, she's barking to let you know that you got to go pet her again because she didn't get enough petting and loving when it was over and done with. All right, so
when you look over at her and she's got a doll in her mouth, like a voodoo doll with a pin sticking out, and that doll looks like you.
Yep.
Now you're in
I
trouble.
done screwed up and did something wrong. Okay. All right. So from little Jeremy, he asked, what is the coolest airplane you ever saw?
That I ever saw.
Coolest airplane.
When we left Fort Bragg many times, you got this big old plane, and when they opened that back door of that plane.
Oh, one of like those Globemasters, the C-17. It's a football field in there.
It's a football field, exactly.
Good God.
We put all of our equipment in there. And I had 5 of these. I was a commander, so I had between my equipment, my soldiers, all of their equipment.
Y'all had 5 planes?
5 planes that was assigned to me.
Dear
And we were headed to the Middle East.
Right. That's a lot.
Now, these wings were so wide. I'm going to say, I don't know if it's a C5 but I'm going to say it wrong. So somebody's going to.
I think it was C-17, the Globemaster.
These suckers are
they're
huge. Monsters.
Yeah.
Okay, so we loaded all of this equipment. And to look at that equipment, they have like an Overwatch deck. You walk up, and that's where up here on the top, that's where all the soldiers go.
Right, they go sit in there
while we travel.
Yeah.
But you can oversee all of that stuff. So you got to get all your equipment, and here's the deal. When I say equipment, I'm talking about Humvees, track vehicles.
Right.
I'm talking a lot of equipment and very heavy.
Yep.
So I get up on that Overwatch deck, and I'm looking down at all of our stuff. Now, remember, you don't just pull it up in there and take off. You got to go out there and tie that stuff down.
They ratchet it the hell down.
So it's down.
Yeah.
But you're thinking this thing can never get off the ground, for God's sakes.
And just one strap snaps.
Oh my gosh.
Screwed.
So now remember, I got 5 planes. So it took us 3 days to get out of at Fort Bragg. So I was on the last plane out. So I'm sitting there watching. And so this thing gets lined up, this big old plane, massive plane. I'm thinking there's no way this thing can get off the ground.
Right.
With all that equipment in it, the personnel. And so they just throw the juice to this plane, the big old jet, bellowing out black smoke. And this thing just woo, 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 woo. And so I'm standing here with some of my other soldiers that's, waiting to leave with me the following day. I said, Lord, I hope they get up in the air. All of a sudden, this big old monster thing, the wings start lifting up. And right at the end of that runway, that sucker just lifts off in the air and takes off.
Right.
And
modern marvel.
I'm gonna tell you. So if your fellow there's asking the question, if he can ever see one of them things and actually see it be low, like you was talking about, it looked like a football field in there when they lowered that back door.
When you look in there, you're like, you could walk off. I'd lose you in there.
Oh yeah.
I'd be like, Colonel. If you'd be on the other side, and you won't hear me because it's loud as heck in there. We all had earplugs in our ears the whole flight. But the good thing is you can stretch out in those things and sleep. And it's a good trip. It's a long trip, but it's a good trip. And they got a coffee pot in there somewhere.
They got MREs. They got all the good stuff.
They got the good stuff in there.
I thought I get an MRE. I get a couple of Tylenol PMs and drink me a bottle of water, and I go to sleep.
I'm sound asleep in
Roger
there.
That.
I guess my best airplane that I ever saw that I truly loved was can you grab that door for me, Colonel? That sound is just killing us. I guess the best thing that my absolute favorite airplane of all time was the A-10, Rolling Thunder, they called it. And that doggone airplane, I know when he flew over the top of us and went, you don't hear it until he's over you. Right above
Warthog, you're talking about.
Yeah, the Warthog, the A-10 Warthog.
Yep.
And I think they called it, the guys were like, that's why they call it Rolling Thunder. You don't hear it unless it turns towards the side of you. But if he's coming straight at you, you never hear it until he's over you.
It's a tank killer.
Yeah.
We call it. And they was going to take him out of service.
There's a gun that has a plane built around it.
Oh, absolutely. And this
The
thing,
whole thing,
and they fly slower than the rest of them. But when they
Right.
come in, they will tear some stuff up.
You won't be left. There's nothing left.
When they open up, you better be down under something.
So that was one of my favorites of all time.
Yeah.
And I get asked, I mean, like a lot of times kids ask, and I tell them, look, it's not what you see in the movies. You know, we're not versed. There's a few guns I know something about. I know about the M16 backwards forward. I know about the Ma Deuce. I know how to take the M2 heavy barrel apart and clean it and all the stuff that went with the 240 November. But like MP5s and things like that you see in the movies that the special forces guys use, that's their kit. That's what they have. But I know that people ask me, did you clean a lot of guns? Yeah. And that's a funny question because there are times where I feel like that is the only thing we did was clean guns.
But you get good at it though, didn't you?
I got pretty good at it, but I will tell you this, I would much rather not shoot now than to have to shoot. And I saw like a little British spoof where these two SAS guys are like, it's your turn to shoot. I shot last time. I cleaned mine. It's your turn. And they're throwing the magazine back and forth at each other about what to do. And I was like, that pretty much does describe the military can take something that's fun and turn it into work.
Well, you know, we once you do something a lot, for example, you know, when I was on active duty, I was flying constantly. I was flying to DC, the Joint Staff. I was flying to PACOM, which is out in Pacific, and then Hawaii. I was going to Florida. I was going all over. So when we're young, you hear, oh, you know where I get to go. You know where I get to go. Well, there at the last, I was flying so much to the point I'd have my family meet me at the airport and exchange uniforms and what have you.
Right.
So I don't say that no more. It's like, you know where I have to fly now? It's not I get to, it's I have to. So the fun part was out the window a long time ago for me. But go back to your gun story.
Yeah, no, but the other thing is the individual asked, what is the biggest, the most number one tool you use in the military? And now that's a loaded question.
Oh, I can tell you.
But yeah, there you go.
It's your brain.
Exactly.
That's your brain. I don't care if you're a private in boot camp or you're a 4-star general.
That gray matter between your ears.
That, and I call it, there's 8 inches on you.
Yeah.
That's between your ears.
Yep.
And that sucker will grow. You will grow professionally, tactfully, and then strategically. But you know what? It's the best thing you've got going in the military and combat. When you come home in your civilian life with your family, you have learned so much. And that little computer up here in your brain.
That's processing.
So the brain is the best tool you've got.
Rest tool. Now, to answer your question, little buddy, if you're asking about actual tools of something that we use, it's something that we don't discuss with civilians, but I'll say it right now. It's your CAT card and your government travel card. Those two things you
got to tell them what a CAT card is.
Well, a CAT card is your actual ID that has a little chip in it, which the whole card is pretty much just a little storage hard drive.
It's got all your stuff.
And so you have to put this into a computer to make the computer work. You have to put it into open doors. You have to do it. This thing is the most important thing that you own on you.
Right.
And the second most important thing that you own on you is that government travel card, because that's the thing that gets you the plane ticket to where you need to go. And you have to have that thing working and in good order. They'll tell you to go, hey, just go buy a lunch off of it just to make sure it's working.
That's right.
And don't worry, you'll pay it with your travel claim whenever you're done. But make sure. And people don't realize that, you know, the military is not like what it once was. You had a purser that handed out money before you went and gave you your tickets and all that stuff. Not no more. You do everything yourself. You do a lot of stuff yourself. Personnel men are not what they once were. They do have them to help with certain things. But when you got someone like a colonel who's got an entourage of all these people going, that's one thing. And you're going in a C-17 or a C-5 or one of those, you know, old planes that's just got a lot of room, but it's going to take you a while to get there. That's one thing. When you're traveling on your own, you need to be ready to do a corporate travel claim, even though you're all So people tell me, I got out of the military, man, I got no skills. Nope. You ever done a travel claim? You got some skills. You know how to travel the corporate way.
Right.
Tell them you're good at corporate travel. That's at least one skill that you have. But no, your best tool ever, the rifle, all that stuff, everything that people want to know about, that's all used by your brain. You everything you're doing, you've learned and you've listened to someone better, smarter, who's done it longer to teach you how to do something, and you have to retain that knowledge forever. And that's what makes us good out in the civilian world. That's why you want a military person
absolutely
working for you, because he's got the ethic. He knows what he has to do, and all you have to do is teach him.
And they show up on time,
right?
And they show up,
right?
That's another thing.
Yeah.
And if they don't know how to do it, guess what? They learn how.
And never give us a playbook. I tell everyone there's a rule book to everything. You give us a rule book to something, and we learn that rule book backwards and forwards. We've done things the military way. We know how the rules work.
Roger that.
We are prepared to do everything that we're supposed to do based on the rules that were there. So I've had some people who say, well, that guy, he's kind of manipulating the system. And I was like, so there's his system is what you're saying, right? He was in the military and you taught him about a system.
Right.
You screwed up. You should have told him you were the rule book. Like, you let him read the rule book. Now he's going to work it.
Roger.
He knows exactly how it works. Awesome. So coming up on the election, you've got March the 5th is the primary voting.
That's correct. And the early voting starts on February the 20th.
February 20th. You had to be registered a voter by now, or you can't vote in the primaries.
That's correct.
It had to be by the 6th, I think, yesterday.
That's correct. That's correct.
Right. So if you're not a registered voter, go out and register anyways, because after the primaries, you can go on to the next one. And then in November, that's the runoff. Or no, that's the actual election.
That is the election day. And I want everybody to understand that in this election that I'm in, this running, we don't have any Democrats running.
Right. It's running unopposed.
We have 3 Republicans running.
Mm-hmm.
So whoever picks up March 5th
is picking up
is going to get the seat.
Right.
That's the way this is going to work.
Right.
And so that's why March 5th is so important.
That you get in there and vote for the primary.
Roger.
Or else you're going to have the same person that's been there for 12 years.
Yes, sir.
And not to knock anyone in office, but I heard somebody say the other day, and I thought that was a real good idea. He goes, it'd be nice if somebody said, hey, look, this ain't working. And this is all of y'all's last term.
Right.
And we're going to just put a whole new group in here. Right. Every new election that comes along, it's going to be someone else, because it just didn't work.
Here's what I say. The fellow that's in here now, I do believe he's a good man. He's been in there for a while. When he got in years ago, he was probably the guy for the right guy for the job.
Mm-hmm.
But look at the scenario we're in today. Like I mentioned earlier, we have a border that's a mess. We have shootings in our schools that's a mess. We have first responders. If I became the congressman, and if I'm talking to a police chief or a fire chief, hey, chief, how you doing today? How's your personnel? How's your equipment? I want them to say to me, Congressman, we're good. Our Manny's at about 105. We got new equipment on board. We're doing really good. But I got a feeling that I will hear, well, Congressman, due to the budget cuts, we're running at about a 60 percentile. We're having to, super glue and duct tape our equipment so we can come out here and help people and save people.
Right.
My opinion of that's wrong answer. But here, we have money up there that's tagged, meaning first response, bridges, roadways, infrastructures, schools,
right,
education. How about the schools themselves? Do they need to be updated? I'm pretty sure they do. How about the salaries for their teachers? Right. I mean, do you realize what a teacher is? A teacher is actually teaching. They are teaching the future of our country.
Right.
Why would we not want to pay them good money and get the best of the best?
Right.
I say we do. And oh, by the way, let's go ahead and secure them, meaning let's put some officers,
right,
police officers.
Right.
We just come out of a 20-year war.
Right.
Do you not think we have combat veterans that know how to stop somebody at the door when they're walking through the door with a gun in their hand, and they're going to go in here and shoot children or the teachers? I promise you, them combat veterans, they will bring that to a halt before it starts. I promise you.
Yep.
I'll say, do we have money for it? Yeah, let's do it. We can do this. This is not a rocket science.
Right.
It can be done. You just got to do it. Don't be lazy. Do it. I don't want to see my kids or my grandkids or your kids or grandkids being hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do this thing. Okay.
And for me, when it comes to the school and military guys, I've told people 3 soldiers unarmed with nothing are better to me going after something than 3 armed idiots that don't know what they're doing.
Well,
I'd take 3 unarmed soldiers with me before I'd take 3 armed idiots.
Well, your soldiers will figure it out. First off, a soldier's always armed. They will pick up a pencil. They will choke you out with your own shirt.
Right.
They will figure out how to stop this bad guy.
If I have a last breath in me, as long as I have a breath in me, I am still a danger to whoever's out there causing the chaos.
Right.
You know? And
oh, by the way, think about it. They're experienced.
Oh, yeah.
They're experienced to do this.
Yeah.
They've already done it. They've already proven themselves. They probably bled somewhere on foreign nation. That's what I tell people. I've already done this. Let me do it again for you.
Yeah. This you don't have to wear camouflage and get hurt.
I'll wear a different uniform, which I call it a monkey suit. I'll put on a tie and all that stuff. I can play the game. I've already done it. Well, put me in there. Let me fight for you.
Right.
You let me fight one other time for you.
Well, you just clarified number one reason why I would never run for office. I don't want a tie around this neck ever again.
I think you look good, by the way.
No, sir. I had a neck once upon a time. Now I've got like a thigh up here somewhere. This is what happens when you can't run anymore, ladies. When the washboard abs go away, this is where it all goes. When the injuries catch up, you're struggling with that stuff. So, Colonel, I can't thank you enough for coming on here. But I mean, just listing some of the stuff that people are saying. The VA is a mess. You got the border situation. Y'all have your work cut out for you. Whoever gets in the office has their work cut out for them. And like you said, I mean, and no offense to anybody, but things aren't changing. And it seems to me that the best way to change something, to shake it up, is to shake the command up and replace them with someone who can do it.
Put me in there.
Right. And you're not a career politician.
Negative.
And this would be your first foray into it. You had to do a little bit of political stuff in the Army, and that happens because you got to hug babies and kiss wives or whatever it is. I don't remember what they would tell us, but the colonel was always, I have an open door policy to the wives. And I'm like back there in the back of the room going, quit saying that. She's crazy. You turn a wife loose. And he had an open door policy. Babe, they left me on that base with him after you went into that open door. Please, God, don't ever do it. I know my dad, the commanding officer of his ship, told him, he says, what's a paragraph? And Dad said 3 sentences put together as a thought.
That's right.
And he goes, what's 3 paragraphs? And he goes, I don't know. And he goes, a letter. If you don't have time to write your wife a letter, you'll be up here in my office writing a letter.
That's right.
And Dad said he went back down and wrote her a letter, never addressed the issue till he got back off the ship.
Right.
And it was only later they found out that the CO, his wife, was friends with my mom. And she kept it from everyone because nobody would be friends with her if they knew who her husband was.
You know what the power on the military post, or I've got Comanche Indian blood in me and Irish, so they say it in the tribes.
Right.
The strongest tribe have strong squaws.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so
the strongest women on the base.
Strong women on the base. And you don't think the wives don't talk to each other?
Oh, yeah.
And the next thing you know, you come home and the wife goes, you know what so-and-so told me?
Right.
What? Oh,
that's why wives have to go through clearance now. You got to get wives that have top secret clearance because their husband's going to talk to them.
Yeah.
And they're going to find out stuff on their own without even aiming.
Sure.
Didn't mean to find out some stuff on their own.
But we have pillow talk now.
I'll share any secret with her. Right when I don't go into sleep, it's going to be that moment, right?
Roger that.
Okay, so we're closing up. Vote for Colonel Crabb on March 5th.
March the 5th. Come on down.
This is the election, everybody. This is not. Don't wait till November. You need to get in there March 5th and get this done on the primaries. All right, Colonel, it's been a pleasure an honor to have you here in the chair with me. I can't wait to see what happens in the future. I'm following you, so
Roger,
I'm going to stalk you just a little.
Roger that. I appreciate that. And tell your friends, I'm experienced. Put me in there.
There you go. Take care of yourself, Johnson County, and take care of everyone else.
From Burleson to Venus and Grandview to Godley, this is the voice of Johnson County.